Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello and welcome into another episode of Two Guys, One Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Chev's favorite podcaster, Addi the Narddog Narder, and I am here with the Scott Mal, one of my closest personal friends. He looked like a 40-year-old best ball player since college, the champion of the Chow Chow Underdog Tournament. Proud to welcome you to the pod, Scott.
Hey, what's up? What's up? Thanks for having me on the pod today. I'm excited that finally I'll have a podcast that is public. I used to talk to my wife about how I'd walk around on a Sunday and record one by myself, but those never made out the phone. So excited to be here and talk best ball today.
Heck yeah, man. You know, me and Scott actually have a solid background. We had a little pirate radio going back in the day, so I'm excited to get him back out here. Me and Scott talk basketball all the time. He is one of the most knowledgeable guys around. It's one of the most annoying things that I have to deal with because he does better than me at it. So we wanted to talk a little bit about like what best ball tournaments people should be entering as a starting point. We don't talk basketball a ton on this pod, and it's always good to keep educated.
Yeah, so one thing I love about best ball is it keeps me entertained in the summer. Personally, I don't have all that much I do on my phone, so having a slow draft that I can tap into and think football for a few minutes, or hitting up a couple friends in a group text and saying, hey, let's do a 20-second draft on like a random Tuesday, keeps me entertained. So with that, I always encourage people who play best ball to know what you're in it for. Like, me, I like something to do in the summer. I like something to root for. I like a slow draft where I get to think about it over the course of a few weeks. Some people want to win it all. Some people could use best ball to prepare for your home league, which when you're going through these drafts over and over again, you kind of understand how the board falls out. So, you got to figure out, like, why do you play, Addi?
I do it for the reps, actually. I'm a big believer that practice makes perfect. Hey, a lot of people can't tell from the pod, but I was actually 5'9" playing football my whole life, so reps are my shit. I need to get those in, otherwise I can't play with other people. So the best ball reps keep me engaged. They show me where that value is. I can kind of figure out which players are like needling down the board and which ones are kind of shooting up, so I know who to avoid. Like it's interesting because you get to have all these takes in May and June, and then immediately have your entire universe shattered by July and August because the board ends up absolutely different. So you'll have teams that vary all sorts of ways. The thing that I love about best ball the most is how on any given Sunday you'll be rooting for about 17 distinct outcomes that can't happen at the same time. It's like, I need Tyler Algier to get 5 yards here, but it would also be cool if Bijan scored a touchdown.
Oh, I know that feeling. It was week 14 last year, the end of the regular best ball season, and I'm going through all of my teams that like still have a chance for Sunday and Monday Night Football. I'm writing out each of the scenarios, what's like good and bad, and like Gus Edwards scores a touchdown. I'm like, oh, that was good for this one, but not great for this one. So, hey, it's a sweat.
Caring about Gus Edwards in week 14 is hilarious. It's diabolical, man.
Oh my god. Marvin Mims crushed me twice and almost 3 times last best ball season, the 3 weeks he happened to go off. So,
well, moving past there, let's start getting into it. We had some NFL news happen this week. Nothing big, but like, I love May for all these training camp films, and one of the ones that stood out to me is people critiquing Travis Hunter's route running. For me, this just feels like Jamar Chase not being able to see the stripes on the football all over again. But I'm wondering, do you take anything seriously from Travis Hunter running a curl route slightly poorly in May?
I don't take it as like face value, like, oh, he ran a bad route here, but it does make me rethink why he was drafted where he was drafted. Number 2 overall pick in this year's draft. He also has that second element of defense. And a lot of our models or the models out there in the industry will rate rookie players based on their draft capital. Well, can all of his draft capital be related to his offensive prowess, or what's the weight on defense? And we still don't quite know the spread. Rumor from camp last week was that this week he was going to start on more of the defensive side of the ball as well. So, as you said, too early to know. Take the overreaction as an opportunity to buy Travis Hunter in drafts, because inevitably he will fall in a couple of the drafts you're in right now.
Yeah. We are a pro Travis Hunter podcast, so love to hear that. Love having my ideas validated on the pod. That's really the goal here. So great start. Glad we're moving into that. And the other big piece of news that I saw floating around NFL media, the tush push. It was 2 away from getting banned this year, and it actually stayed up. So does that change anything for you? In my mind, they were still going to do something equivalent to a tush push no matter what. So it doesn't really ring that big for me. But like, who's to say? Like, I still think that it does cap Saquon a little, but he's RB1 or 2, right?
Well, personally, I would go with Bijan number 1 this year. You have an ascending young player, and he has more options to score. I mean, Saquon's big limitation last year with his lack of receiving volume, and there's no reason that's going to change much this year with the Eagles. They've found a recipe that works for them. I agree. I do think that they would have continued with some version of the tush push. It sounded like how the rule was written, it was going to stop some of those plays where a running back would get stopped and picked up and start running again and would be a 10-yard penalty. So, glad they have another year to flush it out. I was personally ready to buy the Jalen Hurts draft capital slip, thinking that people were going to overreact to the news. But I'm thinking Saquon definitely top 3 still, but I'm a Bijan first guy this year.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I got Bijan number 1, but I go back and forth with him and Saquon. You got him top 3. Who's your other guy in there? I'm curious.
It's hard to stray away from Gibbs. I mean, what he did at the end of last season, okay. You have a new coach.
You seem like a Gibbs guy.
Well, started in on Gibbs early, and Gibbs was on the championship team. So last year, he pulled a hamstring late in the drafting season, was able to scoop up him and Bijan on the same team, and those two were definitely part of the championship squad. So.
Oh, I'm sure they were. Well, as we have been of late, I sure hope we aren't all the time, because I'm definitely a nihilistic Bears fan. I don't think that we are going to be as good as they say we will, because I've been through so many years of rooting for the Chicago Bears. But we do have some Bears news, as always. Luther Burden got an injured hamstring, probably running those excellent routes. Sure, you've seen on Twitter. He is undoubtedly one of those quick twitch athletes. But does that change anything for his stock? Like, I still view him in the exact same ballpark. Injuries in May never really hit for me.
Yeah, I don't love that it's a soft tissue issue. We don't know how long that's going to linger, and if it's 2 weeks from now, I don't think too big of a deal. But 4 weeks from now, and it's still around, but kind of like we talked about before, another opportunity to buy. I'm in on Luther Burden, and I'm actually in on the whole Bears offense this year. So I know today we're going to talk about people that we can't stop drafting, but I may or may not have a Bear on my list.
Well, let's get into it. We are going over our highest exposure best ball players here. Me and Scott ran a ton of drafts, so like these are around our top exposure guys, but our first one here is a Chicago Bear. I would love to hear what you have to say about Rome Odunze.
I am fired up about Rome Odunze this year. He showed small glimpses of his top 10 draft pedigree last year in a couple of games, as did his quarterback Caleb. But as many of you Bears fans know, the team wasn't really quite able to put that together. And recent rumors about no one watching film with Caleb and all the Shane Fraudrin action out there in Chicago. This clean slate should set up great. And if we know anything about last year's wide receiver draft class, they seem to be pretty impressive. We can say three of the top five really broke out. I still maintain plenty of hope in Marvin Harrison Jr. And Rome Odunze is right in the middle of that pack. He recorded 54 receptions last year, 734 yards and only 3 touchdowns. You think that regresses. We know Keenan Allen left. They did add a rookie, and they also added Loveland. But the more the merrier. I mean, you want to target second-year wide receivers. He's going around pick 76 right now, and there is absolutely a chance that he could be a fringe wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, and lead that Bears team this year. So he's often drafted as my 4th or 5th wide receiver. I'm perfectly happy to have Rome Odunze on all of my teams so far this year.
Love to hear that. Well, I mean, I have him on quite a few, but I've really been loving that dip that we've been seeing from it, because early on in best ball season, before Luther Burden and Colston Loveland got in there, he was going around the 50s, and I can't hate on that value, but that feels like a ceiling pick. It kind of felt like Marvin Harrison going around like, what was he, like 20 last year? I feel like that's kind of where I was at with him, but at 70, you can't argue with that upside. He was 1 or 2 inches away from a couple other long touchdowns, and all that we had missing that is Shane Waldron not being able to call a competent pass blocking play. So I'm a big believer. I think that this is a good move. I'm wondering if you got him at a discount or if you got him at that 50 value. Were you still in when he was going a little bit higher?
Yeah, I was definitely still in on the big board, the pre-draft phase of this. Last year was the wide receiver draft class. This year is the running back draft class. Be in on these draft classes. Be in on these high talented individuals. And Odunze's been on that list for me since last year. I remember thinking every game, he could go off here. He could go off here. And he only had a 53.5 catch rate last year. And only 3 of his 14 end zone targets. So plenty of room to catch more balls. Rookie quarterback Caleb now becoming a second year. I think that there's plenty of ceiling for Odunze. And if he ended up the season as a wide receiver 10 through 16, I wouldn't be surprised.
Hey, speaking of guys that are great at grabbing balls, I'm going into DeAndre Hopkins here. So we just covered a fun, high upside player. Let's talk somebody who's a little bit further down the board. I'm getting DHop in 90% of my drafts, reasonably closer to 50, but still, I feel like I have him all the time. He is going 75 at wide receiver. The wide receiver 75. DHop has never been lower than the wide receiver 48, which was his last season. He's going from that crowded Kansas City passing room to the Baltimore Ravens, who, they have Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Bateman, and Flowers, but when you look at that room, it's a lot less talented, and it's still a high-efficiency passing game. They are going to be near the red zone, and he's going around players like, one, Keenan Allen, who you mentioned, not signed to a team yet, Yoshivas, Coker. I'd rather have him than almost any of the wide receivers at that part of the board, and I'm a big fan of still believing the hype, and given I'm the king of drafting wide receivers after they've fallen off that cliff. I was a big Julio on the Titans guy, so I can admit this is a blind spot for me. Tell me why I'm crazy.
I'm concerned about their passing volume in Baltimore. You named 4 other guys who are out there who can catch the ball. Each of them, they only have I don't know what Zay Flowers' targets were last year, but it would have to be less than 140. And I have that same reservation
120.
about 120. Okay, yeah. So I have that reservation about most Baltimore receivers. So, but you are getting him at a great discount, and all it takes is a 2 TD game in the right week, and it paid off. So 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th round, like having some guys who score points can make a big difference down the stretch.
Okay, well, riddle me this. Keenan Allen signs to Las Vegas, or maybe back in Los Angeles for the Chargers. Do you take Keenan Allen over him at that point, or does that value not make sense to you too?
Oh, well, I've been grabbing a little bit of Keenan Allen right now because I know as soon as he signs for his team, his draft position is going to shoot up, and I definitely won't touch him again. But he did show something on the Bears last year, particularly in the middle of the season. He was able to string together a couple of multi-touchdown games, and he had a pretty big game on Thanksgiving, I remember. So, as I said, be in now before his price is gone, whereas DHop's price probably isn't going to move much, and he's a perfect either bring back piece for the, I believe the Ravens play the Bengals in Week 17, and he's also a great stack piece with Lamar. So got to get my flashcards going for my Week 17 stacks.
I love that early on. The second you know those stacks, it's like, ooh, that's a fun one, especially because how many seasons has Bateman made it through a full year? Like maybe one now. And I love the guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big Bateman believer. He's a great route runner. He can play pretty well, but like I want those players that are good like bringbacks to essentially give you some safety. They're almost like a wide receiver handcuff, especially when you're drafting that late. And your second guy on this list is actually one I was considering throwing on mine. He's one of my highest exposure guys as well, but I just talked about him last show, so I wanted to hear someone else tell me why I'm right about Travis Etienne.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm a market follower, and I liked Etienne last year. It didn't pan out, but if you look back at his first two healthy seasons, he crushed it for fantasy. Man put up multiple multi-touchdown games. And last year, he got injured early, only got 150 carries for 558 yards and only 2 touchdowns, a significant decrease from his previous season's production. His injury led to some additional time for Tank Bigsby, who personally I wasn't impressed with. I've heard plenty of people over the internet for the last year talk about how great Tank Bigsby was, but
he's got such a cool name, Scott. He's got the coolest name out there. His name is Tank.
That's why everyone drafted him 2 years ago in his rookie year when he completely let us down. So the big name everyone's talking about right now, though, that's dragging ETN's value down is Bashal Tutin. You cannot go anywhere on Fantasy X without hearing his name. I mean, his draft position has risen above ETN recently, though it sounds like he has a case of the drops in OTAs, which was also his problem in college. So I think we've gotten a little ahead of ourselves here. We've used some of these athleticism scores to pull out ETN being a 4th year playing, 5th year back in the NFL. And I still think he's got some juice in him on a good Jacksonville Jaguars team. We have Brian Thomas Jr., we got Hunter, Brenton Strange showed something last year. Now, can Trevor Lawrence throw an accurate pass? My wife and I are in disagreement under this. I personally think that he's okay for fantasy, but she gives me a lot of shade in my Trevor Lawrence picks. So one more shot this year. I think this is the last shot, Trevor. Come on, get it done.
Well, we're going to go off topic for a second here. Your wife's a fantasy footballer too? Mine is as well. That's fun.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, she's down for any good challenge. So when it's draft day, she locks herself in the office and doesn't let anybody bother her until the draft is over. So it might be her first day of preparation, but she's definitely going to be taking it seriously.
Oh, that's great. Lauren only drafts on vibes, so her teams have been great. Don't get me wrong. She has a big old fat head in our office of her stiff arming last place. He had to keep in his house for about a year. It's great decor. Love a little basement addition there. But hey, same boat here with ETN. The thing that I always wonder about is how people are justifying the projection for Jacksonville, because they're in a division that will have shootouts. Like, undoubtedly, at a certain point, Cam Ward will take the Titans to a point where they can play arguably good football. CJ Stroud's already shown it. And if Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson can throw an accurate ball, big if, that means that they have a good environment to actually play some solid football. And Jacksonville was number 32 of 32 NFL teams in plays run last year. That is not great. You know, you'd have to argue there's only one place to go, and that's up. But riddle me this. Like, what is the justification for someone that genuinely believes that Tootin is going to take that third down role? Because that is where he would slot in. Like, I hate when people tell me, oh yeah, he's going to end up taking touches from Tank Bigsby. I'm not sure I believe that, because Tank Bigsby is 215 pounds, couldn't catch a ball to save his life. If he is going to take touches, they feel like ETN touches.
Yeah, it's so early. You've even heard trade rumors for ETN, but at this point, I'm just going to hold the narrative. ETN is the starting running back in Jacksonville. He's been good his 2 healthy seasons. He has shown prowess for the end zone and on a good team, which Jacksonville was 2 years ago. You know, last year, I think you throw that year out. Between the injuries, ETN was injured, Lawrence was injured, the coaching staff was essentially injured and on the way out. I mean, wasn't there a game where the rumor was if they lost that he'd be fired, and then they got crushed in that game, and then he wasn't fired? That was like week 6 or 7. So yeah, I think people are a little overlooking into what the split was for ETN last year. He still caught 50, 60 balls last year. So he's going to be receiving, he's going to be punching in the end zone. And, you know, ball security and pass protection are the number 1 and 2 things that coaches are looking for out of rookies. And we already have some concerns with Tootin. I'll be happy to draft him here, maybe if his price pulls back a little bit, but in the 120s, 130s for somebody where no one was talking about 3 months ago, a little rich for my bones.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And, you know, I figured having you on the pod that you would be bringing up pass protection and ball security. That does not shock me at all. You give off that old school coaching, believe those narratives sort of nonsense. I'm actually an athleticism guy myself, but that being said, people forget ETN, athleticism freak. He was fantastic. He's a first-round running back. He has all those same qualities that Tootin has, except for he's not 5'1" and 130 pounds. So that actually seems like a really good fit for me. I'm totally with you. Now let's see. I'm really interested to hear your opinion on my next guy, Cooper Kupp, number 47 in early best ball wide receiver ranks. Finished as top 30 wideout in 7 of his 13 games, top 15 in 3. That's fantastic value in and of itself. Like, I understand that Matt Stafford's a big reason for that, but it's not like he's going to a situation that isn't going to be passing the ball. Sam Darnold came there to pass the ball, and even though I've been teasing on X that, yeah, this really feels like early stage Russell Wilson Seahawks where they got Milroe and like they have that avenue to bench Sam Darnold. He kind of feels a little Matt Flinney to me, but that's just my opinion. That being said, I still believe that there's room for 2 targets in that offense because there always has been, and Cooper Kupp is a fantastic wide receiver 2 on a team. With JSN taking a lot of that initial coverage, I really feel that he's going to be able to get himself open. He could get open in a phone booth. He is a fantastic route runner. And to go along with that, he's never put up a season where he was outside of the top 36 wideouts in points per game. I don't see where wide receiver 47 comes from, and I'd love to know if you agree.
Well, it comes from this down the stretch last year, and the way that the Rams treated his exit, basically shoving him out the door. But he did sign previous to the draft. We're seeing some of these veterans not. He is the number 2 target there. There is not even a distinct number 3 target in Seattle anymore. I mean, here this time last year we were talking about.
Don't you disrespect Jake Bobo?
Love a good 18th round Jake Bobo. Actually, personally, these days I'm definitely throwing a dart at Well, in the pre-draft cycle, I was throwing in at Barner and McIntosh. They drafted a tight end and a running back too. So it's a full reset there in Seattle. Uh, Cooper Kupp was one of the best picks of the draft week 1 through 3 last year until he got injured, and people were saying, "Oh, I drafted Kupp. I'm gonna win it all." So there's a pretty distinct difference between where he started and where he ended, and like many other things, it's probably somewhere in the middle of that. And you're right, you are getting a great value for a wide receiver too, right around pick 90.
Yeah, it's pretty insane at that value. Like, I'm inclined to take any receiver at that range because you know that there is that ceiling outcome, and they'll get weeks in your lineup. Like Cooper Kupp, he might get injured this year. Sam Darnold knows medicine ball better than almost any other QB in the NFL, so I'm inclined to think that Kupp will take a couple hard hits here, but I still love that value for him, and I love getting him on my roster and feeling like I have a stable wide receiver 3 really, really late in the draft. That being said, I'm wondering, are you a Sam Darnold guy? Do you believe that this is actually going to keep up, or do you think he's going to fall off a cliff?
Oh yeah, I think he'll probably fall off late in the season. I mean, I'm excited about Milrow. Don't want to tell you how excited I am, just in case you get any ideas for Dynasty. But yeah, well, I guess we'll see. But the Minnesota situation has been pretty excellent for QBs the last 3 years. Darnold plugged into that situation, played well. Crunch time came in. There was not a lot of desire to keep him on the Vikings, and kind of fell into Seattle is kind of how it feels like. I mean, I can't think that they
Feels
went
that
into
way,
their
man.
off season thinking that they were gonna be that Gino was moving to the Raiders. So
Yeah, I would agree entirely. I had a funny last season trade actually with our buddy Colton. He'll be making an appearance on the pod here one of these days, but he and I have been arguing for months over who won our trade between him trading me Terry McLaurin and 25 fab for Cooper Kupp right when he got his injury. Tell me I'm wrong for thinking I won that trade entirely, right?
yeah, in a redraft league.
Yeah, in a redraft league.
Well, actually, in either league.
In Dynasty, it would be great too.
Yeah, yeah. How could you not? Terry McLaurin was a league winner last year.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't for me, but for most people he was. That being said, speaking of Dynasty, we are in pretty much the least productive of productive struggles between our teams.
Oh well, I went young and it did not quite work out, but I'm liking what my team's got going on now. I got 4 quarterbacks in a 2 quarterback league. Eventually, someone's gonna have to get thirsty. So, um, we'll see. No real running backs to speak up. Well, I got Breeze Hall. Tell me, what are your current thoughts on Breeze Hall?
Oh, I love Brees. I don't get the hate that's come around him. Like, Braylon Allen is a fun player. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love watching a guy like Braylon Allen or Tank Bigsby run into tacklers. I was a big Monty guy, so I'm a big fan of that. Like, I like watching the actual footballs be played, but like, he's not as good as Brees. Brees is one of the top tier athletes at the position, and he gets no love. And to go along with that, he's an excellent receiver. So he's on this offense where he should get all these opportunities. The best they have is Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen. And we're saying, oh yeah, Brees is washed. He's had one injury. He's out. He can't be good anymore. It's not going to be fun. He's basically done for the rest of his career. He's Todd Gurley. It blows my mind. The amount of speed in which the Dynasty community gives up on running backs absolutely blows my mind every time. And I could not be a bigger fan of Brees. But you know what? We're going to skip your third guy and go into mine because we're already talking Jets. Justin Fields here, man. QB 11 in early best ball. He has an excellent room of running backs. Brees Hall included there, and he should have an opportunity to actually run the ball a little bit more. Aaron Glenn can call an offense, or at least we assume he can. I've been watching the X videos, and I really believe in that Garrett Wilson connection. I'm starting to like really feel it. I'm like, okay, he might be able to do it. They've been talking about trading for Chris Olave too, and to go along with that, he's had top 5 games in every season. Every single season, you have a Justin Fields top 5 week. That is absolutely valuable at your QB2 spot. And you're getting him at QB11, so you're getting him late in the draft. For a best ball team specifically, Justin Fields is one of my favorite assets to own because you don't need to think about what week it's going to be that he has a 40-yard touchdown. What are your feelings on my boy Justin? I see you in the jersey.
Oh, loving Justin Fields. He's never played well when I've worn this jersey. It's kind of the opposite of my like Bengals sweatshirt where I wear it when I really need the Bengals the most. I wear this Justin Fields whenever I want him to let me down. But personally, I am in on Justin Fields this year. His running capabilities are being undervalued right now, going around pick 100. He's going slightly after Kyler Murray. I would say that they have similar capabilities. Jets, another team that you almost want to throw out last year. It could be more run heavy, defensively inclined, but I do think that Justin Fields has a high floor, and we've seen him put together ceiling games. I mean, he's run for over 100 multiple times. So big Justin Fields guy, especially at his current price. I really like the quarterbacks a lot this year. You have so many running quarterbacks now. Like, stay off of those high pick pocket passers. Joe Burrow going at 45. I mean, that's just so early when you can get Fields at 100 rounds later.
Yeah, I love that. I'm all about the running QB. It didn't work out for me last year. I was a big A-Rich guy and stayed on that ship as it sunk. Waited until full Johnny Depp meme. I was all the way underwater, just hanging on the flagpole, being like, no, he's still good. So this is going to be the year that it works out. I'm sure of it, and I'm going to have all Pat Mahomes and Joe Burrow on my teams absolutely saddlebagged. The thing that gets me is, like, the argument I've always heard about Fields is, well, what's his offense with this team? What's his actual setup? Like, how does he end up putting it together? And it's like, Garrett Wilson last season, before Devontae Adams joined the team, was going at around pick 13, and he was living up to that value. And I'm inclined to think that, like, with Aaron Rodgers running that anemic offense where he doesn't snap the ball until 25 seconds into the play clock every single time, that even just getting more plays in their offense should lead to Garrett Wilson being a bona fide wide receiver 1 again. Like, do you think Justin can support that?
Yeah, I mean, Garrett Wilson had 154 targets last year, particularly in the middle of the season before Devontae Adams went off at the end. We were talking about Garrett Wilson being a top 6 wide receiver. So here we are again 6 months later, and he's dropped over a full round and a half at this point, and people are still out on him. But he gets open. He's got that quick twitch, and we've never really seen him put it together. But is this going to be the year, the first year that maybe a positive environment? I mean, you had last year Rodgers' year, the year before was Rodgers' injury, before that was the Sam Darnold experience. I mean, Garrett Wilson, we've talked about him being a top tier receiver, and we've never gotten to watch it play out. So you can grab him now in the middle of the third, late third. I'm still taking strikes on him, especially because you can match him up with Breeze, you can match him up with Fields, and get some pretty easy stacks. So the Olave piece would be very interesting.
I'm totally with you on that. I think we were bonding over Garrett Wilson early in this best ball season when he was going in like the 4th round too, where it was like, yeah, there's no way that his value is that low. No matter who they bring in, he is going to get peppered with targets, and he is an excellent athlete. He will put something together, and I'm entirely with you on that one. Someone that I'm not entirely with you on is your number 3 guy. So go ahead and tell me why you think Jalen McMillan is going to make it in the most crowded wide receiver room in the NFL.
I love this because a lot happens between today and the Best Ball Championship in Week 17, and a lot can happen to the Buccaneers. Yes, they drafted a first-round wide receiver, and McMillan supposedly was schemed open multiple times towards the end of last year by Liam Cohen, who's no longer there. But oh
Duval.
man, Duval. 8 touchdowns though last year as a rookie. I don't care how schemed open he was. Like, we want touchdowns in best ball, and Jalen McMillan got it done, particularly in the back half of the year. So early in the season, we'll see what happens with Godwin coming back. Mike Evans has often had a soft tissue issue that's kept him out for a couple weeks during the season. Rookies don't start off hot. Yes, it is all about the end, but there's no reason that a second-year wide receiver could not break out. Right now, he's going. Let's see. My numbers are not right at all. He's going like around 150 right now. An easy wide receiver 6. Like, go find me a wide receiver 6. Yeah, well, yeah. The whole team has kind of dropped a little bit, but yeah. Give me a wide receiver 6 who caught 8 touchdown passes last year. As a rookie, you can't find that. So I think he's a great deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me pick at the scab a little bit, because Baker Mayfield, what do you have last year? 40 touchdowns, 42. Baker Mayfield isn't gonna average 40 touchdowns a year. I love Baker. Don't get me wrong. He represents Florida better than 90% of people. I saw Brett Keishner like joke skit where he was like, Baker Mayfield is actually the quarterback we've always wanted here. Jameis Winston was close, but Baker is actually what we were going for. And I believe that he's great. I've always been a big Baker guy, and I'm willing to believe that the early season struggles were less about him and more about situation, and more about late stage Odell slowly losing his sparkle. But like, the thing that kills me is they take a wide receiver in round 1. Like, Emeka is a pro's pro, and you can tell me that, like, hey, Emeka's actually there to replace Godwin long term. I agree with that. But Godwin's gonna come back, and Godwin was the wide receiver 2 in the NFL with the highest points per game before getting injured. So you're telling me that if late in the year Godwin comes back, he's healthy, Mike Evans still healthy somehow, because he's going to get to 1,000 yards. If he gets there before week 17, then he'll probably sit out. But if he gets there after, he's going to get there to 1,000 yards. They're going to make it happen. I love that play at the end of the season where he's quadruple covered and Baker's like, nope, slinging it. It's going right there. We're getting it to Evans. He's got his boy. But like, that is a target competition and a half. Like, did you see enough from Jalen McMillan on the actual, like, nuts and bolts on the field to make you believe that he is really a guy that can replace Mike Evans down the stretch if they need him to? Because I wasn't sure.
When I'm picking in the 150s, I'm not looking for someone who's going to be a wide receiver 1. I'm looking for somebody who's going to give me a touchdown or 2 in the finals when I need it. And McMillan has already proved that he can do that. Yes, there are 3 other players. Rumor has it 3 in front. You could say 2 in front and Mbuka in back. But that's 3 contingent upside opportunities. That's 3 different injuries that could happen. We talked earlier about Chicago. I'd argue that there's 5 or even 6 targets in Chicago if you include Swift. I mean, not all these teams, but a number of these teams, there are a lot of different targets. And as I said, keeping the mindset that what you're talking about in May and what's going to happen in the first week of the new year, it is incredible how many things change. And when you think you know something in the moment, or you think you got something now, like, I want to try and look at the other side. And I draft with a lot of volume, which allows me to spread my exposure. I'm not personally someone who needs 50% exposure on somebody. I think last year my highest percentage exposure at the end was like 19 to 22% when I'm building a portfolio. But I know you prefer a little heavier exposure, right?
Oh yeah. I like, as I said, I like going down with the ship. I own my takes, and I sadly do that in best ball, even though it's not in my best interest. So I do end up with around 40% exposure to a couple players. That being said, they're normally the D-hops of the league where I actually can get that exposure without reaching, because reaching early in the draft really does you no benefit, especially in the best ball context. You're going to end up with players that you didn't need on your roster, and you put yourself in a lot of difficult situations where it's like, yeah, all of my teams would be great if this one player didn't get injured. I actually had that last year where I had a couple teams that were really close to advancing but had Chris Olave. And that ends up hurting you down the road. It shouldn't seem like a big deal, but it ends up being huge. So I can resonate with where your head's at, and I appreciate you also hitting me with the hey, Addison, it seems like you shouldn't be really qualming about your wide receiver 6 on your team. Like, maybe start treating those guys like they're going to get maybe 1 or 2 weeks on your starting roster. But D-Hop's going to get 5 or 6 on my team, so I hope you enjoy watching that.
Love that.
We actually have more time here because Chev, as I always assumed, was the one that was taking us down tangents. So we've actually been sharp and covered all these players. So we can actually go through a couple of JCs, which I absolutely love because he's not here to defend his takes. So let's start with the player that he has been burned with the most. So give you a little history here, Scott. I know you have probably started listening to us, but you probably haven't listened to a couple of the archives of the Two Guys, One Pod discology. But a big thing that JC always used to hit at the end of his shows was George Pickens forever, Drake London never. And this year, JC's top exposure player is Drake London. So let's talk about why he's overreacting.
Well, a lot of people are looking at those last 3-4 weeks under Michael Penix and running that average.
I can tell you the numbers.
Yes, please.
You want these numbers? He's got them right on the show sheet. It's fantastic. I love when JC can't make a show last minute because we just get to tear him up and he's not here to defend himself. So he put together in those last 3 games 39 targets, 22 catches, 352 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Love those stats on there, JC. Thanks for a great show sheet.
Oh, love that. But that's just such a small sample size. And we're all the way back to where we were with the draft last year. Michael Penix is the 6th-year quarterback who Atlanta moved up to get as their guy. And they didn't even play him in the preseason last year. That was such a funny thing to me. They're like, oh, no, we're good. We've seen enough. I think he played one drive, if that even. But I mean, he did look good. Not every offense can be good next year, and I haven't pegged Atlanta being great. I do love Bijan, as I mentioned earlier, and Mooney finally did what we expected him to do ever since he was a rookie, but now he's under from the coverage of the Bears, so I guess that must be why he's good now.
We love developing the players. That's our thing.
Yeah. Well, last year in best ball, we had troubles in the second round. We were choosing between Olave and Waddle and saw a lot of struggles there. This year, we're choosing between McConkey, London, A.J. Brown, and maybe Brian Thomas Jr. has fallen into that group. Like, how would you rank those 4? BTJ, London, McConkey, A.J. Brown?
I'd go AJB at 1. There. I like proven production, and AJB is a 1 on his team. Yes. I'm inclined to go with BTJ at 2. And in my opinion, like I love McConkey, don't get me wrong. I think that a lot's been made of he could fall behind Trey Harris. Like, a slot receiver for Justin Herbert is exactly what you want. He put together some excellent seasons with Keenan Allen. He loves that slot. So I'm inclined to go McConkey at 3, and that puts Drake London at 4, which is rough because even last year when Drake London did live up to the hype, finally took him forever. Even then,
year 3? Year 3?
Yeah. Year 3, that's a while. That's a while.
Yeah, but the
He
year
had
before, who
so
was his quarterback? Ritter.
I'm trying to Desmond Ritter.
Ritter.
Yeah. Are we hating on Desmond Ritter on this show? Yeah, we probably
Oh,
should. No, I'm not going to defend Desmond Ritter. That's the take that ends up getting me canceled off this program. But no, I'm with you though. It's a really small sample to be basing that off of, and we saw last year that they did have reliable targets. Darnell Mooney is a certifiable wide receiver too. He has been for a while. He was on the Bears. He's put together 2 near 1,000 yard seasons. And to go along with that, the camp hype videos, I haven't seen a lot of Drake London in there. I've seen a lot of Darnell Mooney and Kyle Pitts. And you can tell me I'm crazy. I'm asking to get hurt again, but I love Kyle Pitts.
What, 140s or something like that? It's probably a great time to be in on Kyle Pitts. He's big.
great
He's
time to
gonna
be
catch
in.
some TDs. All right, looking at Drake London last year, he had 1, 2, 3. He had like at least 3 games that had 3 targets or less. Yeah,
Yeah,
1,
because they
2,
got a lot of
3,
targets.
4, 5 more games where he had 8 targets or less. So half the season, Drake London got less than 8 targets in a game. That's tough. It just shows that they don't necessarily need him on every game. Bijan can just take over and get the job done. So it's hard. They're all the same tier to me. So AJ Brown,
Yeah,
I actually
yeah.
do like the most because last year he was pick 6, and now because the Eagles have 1 year of down passing volume, we're just going to give up on. We know someone who's elite. Like, yes, he will not be the highest scoring receiver, but his ceiling games, we know how big those can be. So I'm
We
all in
definitely
on
do.
AJ
And
Brown.
I love that too. I'm in the exact same boat. He's got that dog in him, and the Devontae Smith taking his lunch just isn't something I can resonate with. Like we've seen enough. We know who the 1 is, and we know who the 1B is in that offense, and the 1B is Devontae Smith, and that's not a bad role to be in. To be honest, I would take either of them at their value in ADP, but that doesn't mean that AJB is in for anything other than another fantastic season. Those safe picks end up really being the thing that separates a lot of teams in best ball, especially because if you don't take those safe picks, if you're always swinging for upside, you end up with a team with Juju Smith-Schuster, Terrell Pryor, DHop on one of his down years, and Julio Jones on the Titans. And that ends up being a problem down the stretch when those guys get exposed.
It sounds like a personal experience. Some of those names be on the same team's a bit scary. So yeah, it's interesting when people think
Don't
about
call
best.
me out.
When people think about best ball, they think a lot about ceiling. Some people think, like, when you think about eliminator, they think about floor. But we're looking for that floor ceiling combination. And London, though, he was the wide receiver 5 last year. I'm looking at 3/4 point PPR data, so stay up on that.
My.
But he only broke 20 fantasy points twice last year, including week 18, which you can probably throw that out. So he had 18 targets in week 18. A decent floor, though we've seen it fall out a couple times, like any good receiver, but not that much of a ceiling.
Well, now that we've given bashing on Chev's picks a good portion of this show, we can probably end it off here. It has been absolutely fantastic having you on the pod, Scott. We'd love to get you on a couple more times. Love that insight, love that best ball acumen, and keep us in check a little bit here. But just for everyone out there, you want to throw your socials in? Do you promote yourself, or are you one of those hermit best ballers who tries to keep themselves quiet?
I follow along more than I do any posting, but I
Love
do
that.
enjoy. I don't know. Once in a while, I'll like post a team in there, or when I won, it was pretty fun to kind of like meet some different people in the community. So I am S Maltes on X, SMALATES on X.
You can call it Twitter.
Oh yeah, thank you. But yeah,
No,
I mean that's
jokes
pretty
aside
much the
there.
place to find me. And And I would definitely recommend if you're into best ball, being in on that X community. And I got really interested because I've been doing it for a few years, but JJ Zacharyson did Becoming a Best Ball Bro last summer, and that really inspired me to give up my entire summer drafting best ball team. So you never know where you're going to find inspiration.
Hey, damn right. Love that for us. JJ puts out some great work. Couldn't recommend his stuff anymore. But you can find us at 2guys1pod, FF on X, also on Twitter or on Instagram, TikTok, all those other ones. And obviously download the League Champ app. We have our rankings contest, and actually we're giving out a jersey every week, so feel free to hop in there. It's totally free. We have the most complete rankings database that we are offering entirely free to our users. You can find us at Duck League Champ and League.champ on TikTok. Hey, thank you for coming in, and as we always say, Drake London never, George Pickens forever.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.